In a world where nothing is what it seems, one man chooses to protect his wife's criminal emails by doing the only thing a man can: promising a Supreme Court seat to someone else. From the producers of Farcergate comes another harrowing tale of deception, lies, scandal, and Clintons. Always Clinton, starring Amanda, Room for Renzeria, Aunt Loretta Lynch, and Wild Bill Clinton as the diabolical Bill Clinton. Impossible to defend. The nail in many coffins. Toxic to those connected. We have it all. No deals. Boom. Tarmac. Coming soon to a theater near you. Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We are back with another insane amount of Q. We have got no time for pleasantries because, quite honestly, we've got no time. 28:62, 4 minutes after the hour of 11. We saw what you just saw right there. Tarmac, based on a true story. All right, so Q is calling this out. Really, really nice graphics here regarding the Tarmac meeting, and then we get a couple Twitter links right here. The first one takes you to Vox Dog. When are people going to start asking about what really went on in that plane between Bill Clinton and A.G. Lynch in June 2016? If it was impromptu, then there wouldn't be Secret Service or FBI records for their security details, right? Yeah, no, they were a little bit apart. And Bill decided to go ahead and wait on the tarmac to talk to Aunt Loretta Lynch. And of course, when he approached the plane, she looked a little bit uncomfortable about the situation. And who wouldn't look a little uncomfortable when you got this guy creeping on the plane? Well, the reason it was uncomfortable is because at the time, his wife was under investigation for an email matter. So what did they talk about on the tarmac? Was he asking for a little leniency on that matter? That matter that just turned it into a matter a few days later when James Comey decided they were not going to investigate? Was she being promised a future Supreme Court seat? Well, I think we all know how that works out, right? Now, the next is this right here. Days later, deal of a lifetime. QAnon fax matter from Jeff DeRiso on Twitter. And you can see Bill right here. Hey, Loretta, if you can get my wife off the hook for that email thing, there's a Supreme Court seat in it for you. Nobody asked Judge Antonin Scalia about that. And she says, and what if she loses? He says, lose? You kidding me? We own the media. How could she lose? And days later, nobody's homie Comey says our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Okay, so we talked about this quite a bit, and those graphics lay it out really, really nicely. Q says dead on. So I imagine we're going to get some more information in regards to this. Now, I've heard different reports of the tarmac tapes being out there and whatnot, audio conversations. I have not heard anything of substance right there, but I would assume if these planes are indeed outfitted with capabilities, which I imagine they are, then we've got it all. Boom. Let's move on. Post 2863, 1111. We get this post right here, and this is from Donald Trump's post regarding a Kim Strassel article, and she was writing about Adam Schiff and how he is looking to shift the narrative towards his investigation. And Q says, why hasn't this been noted yet? Well, it was the same link that Q had given us in 2856 right here to Kim Strassel's status. And so Q is pointing out that Q was giving us this and that Donald Trump was also recommending this Kim Strassel article. Trump just tweeted the same link. Q started with in post 2856 regarding new narrative. Q proof. Q says, got popcorn. Let's move on to 2864. 15 minutes after the hour of 11. Adding on to that, Q says, there sure are a lot of Q comments on that tweet POTUS just referred to. Happy Friday, Q. And here's the tweet from Kimberly Strassel. Conspiracy theorist Adam Schiff is looking for something new, anticipating a more letdown, writes Kim Strassel. We're not going to go way into these, but there's a bunch of MAGA tweets down below. A lot of Q sent me. Also the same for the president's tweet. And here's the tweet right here. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of MAGA tweets down below, starting off with this Linda Suler, who says Adam Schiff plots his next hoax against our sitting president while the fake news media salivates in the wings. We will have your back, President Trump, all the way. Trump 2020. And it's nice to see. Usually there's a ton of hate down below. Now, of course, you can't escape it all. There's always going to be knuckleheads. And then speaking of knuckleheads, here's knucklehead Ed Krasenstein, who says, trust me, the Mueller report won't be a letdown. All right, Ed, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Here's how much I'm going to trust you. We are going to do this right here so that everybody can see. We're just going to take a little screenshot of there, and then we're all going to have fun with that tweet later. Post 2865, 30 minutes after the hour of 11, we get this meme right here. The wall the media is building in America. How true, right? Seems like so many are willing to build a wall between us rather than worrying about a simple wall to protect our nation. Very well stated in one picture. And this is a great example of how much a meme tells in just a couple words and a simple picture, right? And we get this Twitter link right here, and this is where it came from Donald Trump _KAG 2020 on Twitter. So thanks for that. I'm not sure if they made this picture or not, but very cool. That seems to be where Q got it from. Q says, memes, and more memes. The truth will always win. So fire up those memes, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be afraid to send them on out. And we're going to look at another one right here at 2866. 57 minutes after the hour of 11. We get this graphic right here. I got it blown up over here. Now, this was explaining from a while back, 7th of December. Let's look on the right first. This was the actual Q post, 2563. And Q is asking, where's the plus on a mobile phone when dialing? Now, we see all the way on the far right that the plus is on the 0. Okay. Now, on the left side, we saw this from @CivMilAir. And they watched the skies. And they were saying call signs showing Q0 at 26,000 feet heading over West Virginia, U.S. Air Force. Well, it looked like this was our Air Force One, only they had changed their call sign to Q0. And of course, Q0 is Q plus, whoever that is. Q says, impossible to defend. Vietnam trip coming. Enjoy the show, Q. All right, so we've got this summit coming up very, very soon, right, in Hanoi, Vietnam. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of security, a lot of fuss going on. Are we going to get another obvious Q call out here? After all, remember all the panic the deep state went into the last time. As a matter of fact, we had a supposed missile fired, right? So this could be a really, really big deal. And maybe this is, a signal that we're getting closer and closer to asking the Q. And we get a little bit more clues to that in the next post, 2867. And we see this YouTube link right here. This was from back in July. I believe this was a rally in, Kansas City here. You see KCI Airport. And the motorcade comes by. And I'm just going to skip through here. But you see the motorcade come by. And they have signs here right here. They're asking them to honk. And, of course, they do. So it was another Q proof for the anonymous. Q says, are we having fun yet? The best is yet to come. I can't wait. Let's move on to the next post. 2868. This was 5 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. We get this Twitter link right here. Takes you to the Reagan Battalion on Twitter. Uncovered video. Bernie Sanders in 1985 praising the communist Castro regime in Cuba and admitting on camera that he traveled to Nicaragua to advise the Ortega regime on how to successfully fight the United States. Outstanding, Bernie. Thanks so much. Well, to be fair, this has been out for quite some time. You may or may not have seen it, but if you do a little digging, it's not too hard to find. Now, we're not going to play the whole thing because it's Bernie. But he can sum it up in the first couple sentences. Here we go.
I think what I learned, one of the things that I think I learned on my trip, as a socialist, the word socialism does not frighten me, and I think it's probably fair to say that the Nicaraguan government is primarily a socialist government.
All right. Well, at this point, not knowing that Bernie Sanders is a socialist is a little bit like not knowing that you shouldn't let your kids sleep at Jimmy Savile's house, right? You just don't do it. It's amazing what a person finds when they simply research. Praising Castro, will the next wave of Democrat 2020 candidates begin to push the everything will be free reparations for all black Americans, more government control will save us, etc., 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 broken record lines in order to buy con voters. Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, free stuff always kind of piques everybody's interest, right? More talk, more claims, no facts, no plan, no details. What happened regarding Bernie's wife's fraud case? Well, they ended up dropping it. This is a while back. This takes you to the Washington Post, and I am on a paywall with them. But I'm going to get you this with Valley News right here. This sums it up right about here. Federal investigators have been looking into the finances behind a real estate deal for the now defunct Burlington College, where Jane Sanders served as president from 2004 to 2011. In 2010, she had worked out a $10 million deal for the college to buy 32 acres of waterfront land in Burlington on Lake Champlain and a 77,000 square foot former orphanage and administrative offices of Vermont's Roman Catholic Church, which needed the money. Why did they need the money? To settle a series of priest sex abuse cases. Jane Sanders, a longtime political advisor to her husband, promised at the time that the deal would be paid for with increases in enrollment and about $2.7 million in donations. She left the school a year later. The enrollment increase and the promised donations didn't happen, and by 2014, the college had about $11 million in debt. It sold much of the waterfront land and closed in 2016, with officials citing debt from the land deal as a major reason. She still got a kickback from that, from what I remember. So there you go. Gonna promise you a whole bunch of free stuff, but we all know that this stuff isn't free, right? It pays to play. The more you know. Q. Post 2869, 16 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. Q is responding to an Anon who's talking about Robert Kraft, and he is the NFL football team owner of the New England Patriots, who also won the Super Bowl this year. You can bet Q knew Kraft was on surveillance video, just when Kraft got all liberal in the fake news. Q says Super Bowl winners. Well, that was his team, the New England Patriots. How interesting that the Patriots won, right? Puppy, sex, urban dictionary. Well, Q mentioned puppies back in 2843. Talking about the Super Bowl, making the Super Bowl look like a puppy show. And Q was talking about what was going to happen after Mueller's findings. So we had some findings in regards to the Super Bowl, didn't we? But let's look at this puppy meaning. Now, in an urban dictionary, I didn't see anything immediately in regards to a puppy. But Q is implying that this is a sexual term of some sort. And of course, it is sometimes used to refer to women's breasts. That was one thing that stood out here. And other than that, there's one here, a slang, a very attractive girl who attracts guys by whining. But I have a feeling that we are talking about sex trafficking. Now, I looked up sex puppy under Urban Dictionary, a very sexy person who does nothing all day but follow around his or her master in a sexual manner, always happy for intercourse. Okay, so what is this in reference to? Well, our boy Robert Kraft got charged with soliciting sex at a Florida day spa. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft is being charged with 2 counts of soliciting someone to commit prostitution, stemming from a raid in a day spa in Florida, police said Friday. The day spa is in the Florida city of Jupiter, and Kraft was picked up as part of an 8-month multi-agency sting, Jupiter Police Chief Daniel Kerr said. There was 2 incidences, an official in Jupiter told WPTV. Charges have been filed, but he has not been arrested, Jupiter Police spokeswoman Kristen Reitler said. The NFL team on Friday denied that Kraft had committed a crime. We categorically deny that Mr. Kraft engaged in any illegal activity because it is a judicial matter. We will not be commenting further. Officers involved in the sting had been wearing body cameras and also were involved in ongoing surveillance at the business, Kerr said. Police said they wouldn't immediately release video or documentation. 5 day spas were targeted as part of an investigation. Cove Day Spa, Therapy Spa in Stewart, Bridge Day Spa in Sequoia, Apple Day Spa in Hope Sound, and Orchids of Asia Day Spa in Jupiter, according to WPTV. Martin County Sheriff William Snyder said Kraft is one of around 100 men who would be arrested in the stings. That's a pretty big sting, right? I think it's very safe to say without any hyperbole that this is the tip of the iceberg, Snyder said. The tentacles of this go from here to New York to China, in Florida from here to Orange County. Kraft took ownership of the Patriots in January 1994. Since then, the NFL team has played in 10 Super Bowls, winning 6 of them, including the past season. Kraft also is CEO of the Kraft Group, a holding company of numerous family businesses, including Major League Soccer's New England Revolution, as well as international forest products. Okay, so this goes really, really deep. It says from New York to China, in Florida, from here to Orange County. And of course, Kraft, being the CEO of the Kraft Group, there's a lot that falls under the Kraft Group, right? And his team has been one of the most successful football teams really in history, winning 6 Super Bowls, and that's quite an achievement. Now, I would also like to point out that during these kinds of Super Bowls, we get tons of arrests too, and this is from the DHS. DHS combats human trafficking and seizes counterfeit merchandise during the Super Bowl. So big offense like this bring all sorts of trouble. We're not going to go into this, but it brings a lot of human trafficking. And it's very similar to things like the World Cup, too. Terrible, terrible human rights abuse happen during these sort of things. ICE, HSI, has seen firsthand the negative impact of human trafficking following the mass movement of people in the metro Atlanta area for Super Bowl 53. This form of modern-day slavery targets and exploits millions of men, women, and children across the country every year. This week alone, ICE HSI has made 40 arrests associated with its anti-human trafficking operation and rescued 4 victims in the Atlanta area. DHS is committed to eradicating human trafficking and encourages all Americans to recognize the signs of human trafficking and join the fight to end this heinous crime. Okay, so there you go. So we get an idea of what's going on with Robert Kraft. Now, post 2870, 21 minutes after the hour 1. We get this post right here. And it's a little small here, but the Anon is basically taking the 2843 post here, saying that the fun begins directly after. We'll make the Super Bowl look like a puppy show. That's the little post right in here. And this is a picture of Robert Kraft holding up his Super Bowl trophy. And Q gives us our little answer right here. Thanks for that, Q. Looks like I was right. A very sexy person who does nothing all day but follow around his master in a sexual manner. Always happy for intercourse. Yikes. Okay, so there you go. I think you see what's up. Robert Kraft, big-time creepazoid, won a whole bunch of Super Bowls, but it looks like he's involved in something a little deeper. Let's move on. Post 2871, 25 minutes after the hour 1, Q's responding to an Anon who says, DeGeneva, being Joe DeGeneva, said sedition, not treason, is that delineation accurate on those who were involved to frame Trump and the American people. Please advise. And Q says sedition, treason, and crimes against humanity. Yeah, I don't think everybody's going to be guilty of treason. I would imagine that a lot of the news media and the people who were generating anything that had to do with this compiling of the Steele dossier, all the stuff that led to FISA, a lot of those people will probably be guilty of sedition. Like I said, news media, people that were, kind of planting seeds in other people's head. Now, we have some text messages that may very well imply, a planned murder on the president. And if that is indeed true, anybody who's involved in that is definitely going to be involved in treason. There are going to be some people that are involved in treason. And I suppose that if we do finally get down to the bottom of what happened with the Clinton Foundation, we're going to find lots of crimes against humanity. So I think Q is telling us that it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Now, Q gives us a little bit more clarification here in 2872, 34 minutes after the hour 1. And this is an email from former executive director of the FBI, Randy Coleman. Coleman told us that he took notes in a journal. Coleman's notes from October 4th contain the following entry. Number 1, Anthony Weiner. Number 2, unrelated. Number 3, Weiner texting a 15-year-old, sexually explicit, for iPhone, iPad, and a laptop. Initial analysis of laptop, thousands of emails, Hillary Clinton and Foundation, and that would be the crimes against children. And of course, that's crimes against humanity. We asked Coleman about these notes, and he told us that given their placement in his notebooks, the notes would most likely represent information he was briefed on first thing in the morning by his subordinates in the Criminal Investigation Division. Okay, so and Q is adding and children here. And then this takes us to the OIG. Now, this is a massive 568-page document, so we are not going to go through that. This is part of that. But Q is pointing out Hillary Clinton and Foundation, crimes against children. So although it's a mixed bag for others, it looks like Hillary Clinton is going down the hardest, and anybody that was involved in that. So there's a little clarification from Q. Let's move on. 2873, 42 minutes after the hour 1. We get this right here. Look at this. And I think this was from just the other day, and the fake news narrative. Wow, looks like a happy crew there. They don't look unhinged. I see red hats, but I don't see any terroristy looking people. The tweet came from Purple Sea Lion on Twitter. Congrats for the shout out and the fake news narrative. We are one. We are united. And this picture was from a celebration just the other day at the White House regarding Black History Month, which is very, very cool. And it's so nice to see all these guys gathering in the White House and celebrating. And of course, we've got Junior right there and Candace Owens. And I don't know all these other people, but they look like a nice little crew. It looks like they're having fun. Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Q says, fake news only divides. Divided, you are weak. Together, we are strong. Hashtag united, not divided. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Let's move on to 2874. 51 minutes out to the hour of 1. We get this Twitter link right here. White House looking into Labor Secretary Acosta's role in secret plea deal for sex abuse. The White House said Friday it's looking into Labor Secretary Alex Acosta's handling of a secret plea deal with a wealthy financier accused of sexually abusing dozens of underage girls. Okay, we briefly talked about this yesterday, didn't we? A federal judge ruled Thursday that prosecutors in Florida violated the rights of victims by reaching the non-prosecution agreement with Jeffrey Epstein. Acosta was the Miami U.S. attorney who oversaw the arrangement. President Donald Trump said he didn't know much about the case, but volunteered that Acosta has done a great job as Labor Secretary. As for the Epstein case, Trump added, that seems like a long time ago. Trump spokeswoman Sarah Sanders called it a complicated case. She added that it was something we're certainly looking into, but that they made the best possible decision and deal they could have gotten at that time. Asked if Trump still had confidence in Acosta, Sanders said, again, we're looking into the matter. I'm not aware of any changes. Acosta has called the deal appropriate. Okay, so this is pretty interesting stuff. I'm not really sure what's going to turn out with this, but I really do hope the victims get a chance to enter their plea. Now, I reported to you yesterday that essentially what the judge had done was said that they were trying to give them, I think it was a 15-day period where they could either offer them some sort of, whether it was a financial agreement or something like that. But that wasn't what they wanted. They didn't want a financial agreement. They wanted to get their stories in and told, and that may lead to, who knows, maybe more time for Jeffrey Epstein. Q says, how do you feel your admin if majority of those in politics are corrupt, draining the swamp? So it looks like Q is simply saying, hey, we're doing the best with what we've got. A lot of these people are corrupt, and I know there's a lot of appointments. There's some that I haven't liked either, and I know you have probably your own. We're not going to go into all of that, but the fact of the matter is you only have so many choices in Washington, right? And sometimes the best choice might not necessarily be the best for the job. They might just be the least evil. Let's move on to 2875. 59 minutes after the hour of 1, we get this link right here to Twitter, and this takes us to the Washington Examiner. Breaking: Trump administration moves to cut off some Planned Parenthood funding. Hallelujah. The Trump administration posted a final rule Friday that would require family planning clinics to be housed in separate buildings from abortion clinics, a move that would cut off Planned Parenthood from some federal funding. The rule applies to $286 million a year grant known as Title X that pays for birth control testing of sexually transmitted diseases and cancer screening for 4 million low-income people. It requires the physical and financial separation of family planning services and abortion. And I think that's going to be a real key thing going forward in the future. Federal funds are not permitted to go towards abortions except in the cases of rape, incest, or if a woman's pregnancy threatens her life. Abortion foes, however, have long fought for rules along the lines of the one advanced Friday because they say allocating federal funds towards clinics such as Planned Parenthood frees up additional funds to provide abortions. The organization receives between $50 million and $60 million just from Title X. So it goes on to say that Planned Parenthood, they're going to fight back and da-da-da-da. But here's the deal. The organization said the requirements would force its facilities to build separate entrances and exits, construct new health centers, or hire a second staff of doctors, nurses, and administrative staff. The rule takes effect 60 days after it is published in the Federal Register, but clinics will have a year to comply with the new building requirements. Okay, so it seems like this is going to be a real key thing, separating these two facilities. And I'm sure that's going to make it a lot harder for somebody who wants to get an abortion because they can't just go right next door, right? So that seems to be the deal. So this is really fantastic news. It's always nice to see that. And of course, we would love to see it completely defunded. And Q says, one step closer, Q. Let's move on to the next post for now. Post 2876, 3 minutes after the hour of 6, we get this Hillary Clinton status right here. Politico reports today. A wide-ranging disinformation campaign aimed at Democratic 2020 candidates is already underway on social media, with signs that foreign state actors are driving at least some of the activity. Oh, here we go. And this is from Politico. Sustained and ongoing disinformation assault targets Dem presidential candidates. A coordinated barrage of social media attacks suggests the involvement of foreign state actors. A wide-ranging disinformation campaign aimed at Democratic 2020 candidates is already underway on social media, with signs that foreign state actors are driving at least some of the activity. The main targets appear to be Senators Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, and former Rep. Beto O'Rourke, four of the most prominent announced or prospective candidates for presidents. All right. So it looks essentially like someone doxed a whole bunch of people is what I'm seeing. A Politico review of recent data extracted from Twitter and from other platforms, as well as interviews with data scientists and digital campaign strategists, translation, we doxed people, suggests that the goal of the coordinated barrage appears to be undermining the nascent candidacies through the dissemination of memes, hashtags, misinformation, and distortions of their position. But the divisive nature of many of the posts also hints at a broader effort to sow discord and chaos within the Democratic presidential party. Okay, well, look. When you've got dummies like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, and Beto O'Rourke running for president, we don't need to do that for you. You guys can lose just fine all on your own. So what it does here, it leaves you this little embedded link, and Q's going to talk about this, and it takes us here. Now, this is really, really creepy. It's called voter fraud. And a lot of you may have spotted your icons on here. Now, I haven't spotted mine. I don't know if I'm on here or not. I haven't looked really deeply. But essentially, they took information from all these people. And I know many of them are you. And I'm sure you're really happy about that. Who are they? The 200 accounts shown above are a sample of a network on Twitter talking about voter fraud and amplifying false and or misleading narratives about election integrity and the democratic process. How do you know that? I know some of these people and I've never seen them do that. Sounds like you're lying. We discovered that this group of 200 accounts either generated or were mentioned in over 140 million tweets over the last year. As you will see below, this network is not only growing at an accelerating rate, but also coordinating with effective tactics that appear to bypass many of the detection methods of existing disinformation research. Okay, so this is really creepy. And then they go on to give you some pseudoscience about how they hacked you and how they doxed you. So this is really, really creepy. And of course, they're trying to get out in front of the narrative and play the victim because they know the only way they're going to be able to win any kind of presidential campaign is to cheat. So they're going to go ahead and get ahead of the cheating by calling you all cheaters. Now, I would suggest that whoever's involved here might want to get together in a lawsuit because this looks like it's got some teeth to it. Now, let's see what Q has to say. For those who think this war is fake or we are not considered a major threat, this is a direct attack by Hillary Clinton on Q. It sure is, and pro-POTUS patriots. The article reference has an embedded link that literally targets pro-POTUS Q Twitter accounts that had been identified by Clinton deep state as serious threats, ability to shift the narrative. Twitter has already begun to remove targeted account stages under false pretenses. The war is real, the threat is real, Clinton panic, Clinton fear, judgment day coming. Yeah, I think a lot of people probably don't realize the severity until it happens to them. Now, for some of us content creators who deal with it on the daily, we don't always talk about it all, but we do allude to it all the time. We're dealing with this constantly. So I'm really feeling for the people who got targeted. And like I said, I don't know if I'm one of them because I'm just going to make videos anyway. But Q talks a little bit more about this in the next post. 2877, 4 minutes after the hour of 6. Q just adds on, disregard all spelling / other errors on the move. Now, Q said this a few times. I thought this was pretty interesting, on the move. And I also want to point out, too, that if you remember the other day, TMZ reported that they saw a sighting of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and the title was On the Move. And I thought that was really, really interesting. Now, she was wearing the same clothes that she wore last year, so it was probably a fake picture, but it was a spot, and I just remember that it said On the Move, and I thought that was really, really interesting. But this is a really, really big deal because they flat out doxed you, and that is definitely not okay. Now, Q points out that article in 2878 here, 11 minutes after the hour of 6. It gives us this link right here, and we just checked it out. This is this. And look, they're just showing the icons of everybody and basically coming out and calling all of you liars. That sounds like libel and or slander to me, right? Link embedded in article. Crooked Hillary. We got Hillary in 3 kill boxes right there. I would say sedition, treason, and crimes against humanity. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very sorry if you turned out on that list. I know a lot of you guys did, and we're going to look at that a little bit more at that list in a minute. But this is what's up at this point. We've seen Q entering the narrative on TV for the last few days, and now they're just going straight after accounts. The panic is sincerely real. We must be getting very close to something. Let's move on to 2879, 47 minutes after the hour of 6. We get this tweet from AFP. Breaking: the internet infrastructure is under attack. The agency that oversees the online address book warns. And this is the same title right here. This is their Twitter status. The Anon says, evil trying to prevent truth from spreading. And Q gives us this right here. From ICANN.org, ICANN calls for full DNSSEC deployment, promotes community collaboration to protect the internet. The Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers believes that there is an ongoing and significant risk to key parts of the domain name system, DNS infrastructure. In the context of increasing reports of malicious activity targeting the DNS infrastructure, ICANN is calling for full deployment of the domain name system security extensions across all unsecured domain names. The organization also reaffirms its commitment to engage in collaborative efforts to ensure the security, stability, and resiliency of the Internet's global identifier systems. As one of the many entities engaged in the decentralized management of the Internet, ICANN is specifically responsible for coordinating the most top level of the DNS to ensure its stable and secure operation and universal resolvability. All right. Down at the bottom here, it says about ICANN. ICANN's mission is to help ensure a stable, secure, and unified global internet. To reach another person on the internet, you need to type an address, a name, or a number into your computer or other device. That address must be unique so computers know where to find each other. ICANN helps coordinate and support these unique identifiers across the world. ICANN was formed in 1998 as a not-for-profit public benefit corporation with a community of participants from all over the world. Okay. Q says, tools of prevention online. All right, great. And for those of you who are great with computers, I would love to know any of your suggestions for all these Anons. If you have any, it's time for us to probably start talking about that stuff and what we want to do to combat this, because it looks like it's affected quite a bit of you. And we're going to go into that right there. You see this long list here, 2880. Public service announcement, targeted, directed, purge. And this was the link right here. This was Hillary's status link, and then this was the article that was pointing out all of these accounts. Now, these are all the targeted accounts. I'm not going to go through all these here. You may or may not find your own on this. It looks to be mostly Twitter links right here. And it's pretty incredible, no? Now, like I said, I didn't really look really hard, but I didn't find myself on here either. So I'm not sure if this is going to affect me or how it's going to affect a lot of you. You guys can let me know. Q says end one. And that's right. We've got more here in the next post, 2881. 26 minutes after the hour 8. Q gives us another list and adds on here, start 2. And again, more Twitter links. And puts here, Patriots, you have been selected as threats and falsely labeled as foreign disinfo agents, though they attempt to disguise at the bottom as not all. Yeah, in that article, they say, well, maybe not all of these. Well, that's a terrible way to dox people and then say, maybe not. And believe me, I've had that happen to me. This is an attempt to target and remove by false pretense all threatening voices, elimination of free speech to prevent loss of control. These actions are now being monitored and would strongly encourage forwarding this information to the appropriate members of Congress, Senate, and the media. So there's some good advice from Q right there. We believe this is a test run to effectively silence the opposition while testing the potential media backlash and or official response. This attempt to remove, silence fascism, those who oppose their view or narrative should further demonstrate their resolve to control the message narrative win at any cost. And I'd like to take this opportunity right now. If you are not subscribed to one of my other channels, those links are down below to my Gab and my BitChute and my Brighteon.com. And of course, it looks like my Twitter has stayed up so far, although I had a lot of problems with it today. But please join me on one of those others, and hopefully we'll still be able to keep in contact. But if you are indeed one of these people and you need some help, just give an email and we'll see what we can do. But it looks like we probably need to start moving ourselves onto some other platforms. Now let's move on to this most recent post here, 2882, 42 minutes after the hour of 8. Anon says they're scared and desperate. And then we get this here from February 14th. Q says, more importantly, why is the Washington Post leading the attack versus Q? And Anon was asking about Jordan Sather talking to the Washington Post, which I believe he already did. But Q was saying, more importantly, why is the Washington Post leading the attack versus Q? Because they're one of the main knuckleheads, right? Who owns the Washington Post? Jeff Bezos. Who funds Amazon? Well, that would be all your alphabet agencies. Who targeted the NSA regarding surveillance, expose, prevent, pre-Uranium One, Iran? We talked all about that in Washington and Amazon's role in that and their owning of the cloud servers. Why are we attacked daily by the largest news companies on the world? And it was supposed to be in the world. Use caution, high follower count, targeting to direct deep in narrative mob as method to remove. So I guess as you start getting popular and your message starts getting out, people want to knock you down. Q says, coincidence? Days after this post, we have everything. Q. And still more Q. Post 2883, 38 minutes after the hour of 11. We get a few more links here. Q says the first one is info, and it looks to be some sort of PDF here. Understanding Internet Infrastructure, and gives a brief history of the Internet infrastructure. It's about a 9-page document here. The connections were made via local area network, paging network, satellite network, all using packet switch. They're talking about this internet protocol system, setting up IP addresses. And now I'm not much of a tech guy, but I'm probably going to have another look at this myself and see if I can educate myself. The second link here, Q calls remove control from government and provide to California. Who controls California? Well, the Dems control California. And yes, this was from back in 2016, 7 days before Obama gives away internet and national security. In 1 week, President Obama will allow what remains of the United States control over the internet to pass to a California nonprofit organization, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, that ICANN that we were just talking about. So we're not going to go through this whole article, but I want to show you this here. They're talking about this particular author is saying it's a bad idea, and this is why. Others, however, believe the transfer is not only a bad idea, it is mad. Currently, the U.S. government vets and approves every domain name and IP address on the internet. When the A server is replicated nightly, it is done following U.S. government oversight and authority to post the new IP addresses. Now think about it if the U.S. was engaged in cyber war, a situation surely to occur. Under this new arrangement, the U.S. may not know if all the IP addresses for domain names are legitimate or if they have been manipulated or compromised in some fashion. Moreover, the government's and the private sector's ability to get new sites accessible on the internet would be dependent upon the actions of a nonprofit organization, which is increasingly multinational. It is also possible that ICANN may fall under the influence of powerful corporations or nation states who do not have U.S. national security interests at the forefront. And then the third link says significant risk, cover, control, and takes us back to this right here, where ICANN is calling for full DNS-SEC deployment, promotes community collaboration to protect the internet. That's right, because they dock knuckleheads like you, and they think that you're a Russian bot. So they're going to have to shut your account down because they're in control now. I think you see what's going on. Thanks, Barack Hussein Obama. Why would Hussein transfer U.S. government control of the internet to a nonprofit California company? Well, it shouldn't surprise anybody, right? Because he's a commie and he's a traitor. And because Democrats run California, so they can make decisions. Just like they make decisions in Silicon Valley on a lot of your social media platforms. Who gets to say what? And we're starting to see this come into play now. Q says, you are the news now. Now we got one more post so far, 2884, 55 minutes after the hour of 11. We get this Twitter link right here. And this is to Jerry on Twitter. Just Jerry. And they're talking about a couple of my favorite knuckleheads.
For me to poop on!
The Ed Krasenstein brothers and Brian Krasenstein brothers are on video admitting they're spreading misinformation and being paid to divide Americans. Evil paying evil people to do their evil deeds. Okay, well, anybody who knows or follows me on Twitter knows that I'm constantly going back and forth with these dummies. And this is actually not that new of a video. It's about 45 seconds long, so check it out.
Is that your job?
I have several businesses, but you know, the Resistance is a really good group of people. It's spread throughout the country, probably throughout the world. I mean, it's it's just kind of, it's just what I enjoy spending my time doing. And of course we get paid, you know? Of course those higher ups pay us.
So you're paid for this? It's not just like something you do because for your love of country?
Yeah, I mean, people pay us. They want us to help sow the division and to take over Trump's Twitter feed. When he makes a post, they want our tweets to be up there. They don't want other people to, like Trump supporters, to be seen in that case.
Think about that. That's just dumb.
It is just dumb. Well, look, you didn't think that the Krasenstein Ponzi scheme brothers actually get to all the top of POTUS's tweets because they're clever? No, these mental midgets are sellouts, and they have been for a long time. This video, I think, is kind of old, actually. He said this a while ago. Maybe it's not that old. Maybe it's just that time has gone by so fast. But yeah, Brian and Ed Krasenstein. I like to call Brian the Pawns. These guys are knuckleheads. They don't have anything brilliant to say. They're just highly paid trolls, and that's how they get up to the top of POTUS's tweets all the time. Now, I don't exactly know how it works, but I'm sure it has a lot to do with what Q was just explaining there. You know, I suppose they got sort of a white list when it comes to the POTUS's tweets, but there you go. All right, kids, those are your Q posts for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who already do that. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're new to this channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that you will get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed from time to time. That's just the way it goes. And seeing as what's going on, I would highly suggest you subscribe to one of my other channels, my Gab, my BitChute. I'm over on Brighteon.com, and I'm over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. All those links are down below. My email is down below, and my PO box is down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay focused.